Just more demurely today. I've taken a bit of advice from another West. I always, honestly, I do know right from left, although I have had to I sometimes get bamboozled at the stove. It's weird. All these things like the neurological things that, like, I belong to quite a few Facebook groups for autistics, people with ADHD, and mostly both or either, because they're almost always comorbid, it seems. And there are, I don't know if they're theories, scientifically theories, but, you know, there are some areas of investigation, like hypotheses that they are, well, the paediatrician who diagnosed me, and it was a paediatrician, because you can't just walk in there and, because it's not an adult, I mean, it can desist in adulthood, but it can't develop in adulthood. You know, there's always really birth or early childhood onset, at least a symptomology. So she diagnosed me largely from like school reports and that kind of thing. I mean, she was diagnosing a child and could see from, you know, other evidence that I produced that it had not desisted in adulthood whatsoever. There was the ADHD, and anyway, I won't go into that. I've gone into that kind of stuff before, but a lot of the stuff is really, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about is really typical, and it's just incredible, really. And I just want to go back again to this. I was talking about something totally different. Well, I'm trying to talk about the medical centre thing. But yeah, I did seek some advice from somebody who lives in another country on the northeast, southwest coast of Africa, a couple of doors up, about Ghanaian, if that's how you pronounce it, Ghanaian cultural attitudes to women's modesty. I'm not politically correct. I'm comfortable to wear whatever I want to wear. If I want to play dress-ups as an adult in what I believe are my final weeks and months of life, I'm going to do it until I can't anymore. But I also don't, you know, I also, I'm not, you know, I'm an Aspie, I'm not a child, and I want to be socially comfortable here, so, I mean, I'm not, I've dressed sort of like I'm going to a business meeting, rather than a hawker's convention, so, or a salsa class. And then I just thought, look, I don't even want to talk about this outside. I think I better just talk about this inside. So I am going to be outside as much as I can today. But yeah, I'm tired, and I'm really, really, really sleep deprived, and it's one of the double-edged swords with prednisone. Ritalin helps me sleep, prednisone does not, and so, I mean, I'm often absolutely exhausted, and I can't catch up on sleep. For some reason, my body won't let me sleep for longer than 8 hours, even if I've missed an entire night's sleep. And so yesterday morning I woke up at 4:30. It was so frustrating, and I couldn't do anything about it. I just had to start my day at 4:30, And it's okay, like, as long as you just go, well, fuck it, I'm just going to not do anything that I was going to do today, and that included going to the doctor. I just thought, fuck it. And I thought of, like, getting in touch to say, I'm sorry, I'm sick, because that's the automatic thing you do, right? And I thought, no, I'm not going to. I think that sends the wrong message. I think it sends the wrong message, and I think silence is usually never an appropriate response to something, and missing an appointment or something. I mean, that's it's a kind of communication, right? It communicates something in itself. It may not be clear what it's communicating, in which case, what kind of communication is that? But like, if you hear someone speaking in a language that you don't understand, you know that they're saying something. It may take a while to figure it out. And for SPs, there's always that delay in figuring out what things mean. And so I just try to take a moment, and that's one of the best things I ever learned from a clinical psychologist. And she was just saying, take a beat, take a beat, take a beat. And it's not that people with autism, and yeah, I mean, I'm really struggling to differentiate between the two, and people say ADHD and stuff like that, like there's a way to sort of combine them, because even if they're not on a scale together, they do seem to be part and parcel. I mean, there are so many common traits, and it's not in my interest really to try to differentiate between them. Whatever they are, I'm clearly my own person. I've got a lot of personality. I've got a strong personality. I want to watch this documentary that I saw that's coming up, or I think it might be available to stream now, and it's a New Zealand documentary about, I think they're boomers now. Well, fuck, they were boomers. This is what people don't understand, and I just made that mistake. A boomer is a generation, it's not an age. So if you're 5 years old, in like 1955 or even 1952 or something, you're a boomer. If you're 5, and you were born in that generation, you're a boomer. You're a baby boomer. It's not an age. I'm short of breath. I'm anemic. So what I mean is, they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s now. There was disabled people, and one of them, which was how they were treated, all kinds of disabilities. Polio would have been one of them, no doubt. People with autism and that kind of thing, who would have been. And I think, and the movie title was called No Distinguishing Features or Characteristics, which is what I take it one doctor wrote about one of the kids, which is just horrific. Like, it's just like just cancelling them out as a person. I have plenty of distinguishing features, and that's my problem. And I do have a lot of, I am larger than life frequently. It can't all be autism, but then a lot of SPs, things that I think are fucking hilarious and no one else does, other SPs do. And then there's a guy there, and I don't even know who the SP. Some people maybe are just there but they're interested in supporting someone, or they're married to someone with, and he's like, is autism like a variety of humour? And I said, I think it is, actually, although most people think of it as see it as rage bait. But yeah, there was this really funny thing I saw on Facebook, and so if you're not like, I don't really believe in. Oh God, I hate these PC terms, othering and stuff. But it is true, you know. It's basically social tribalism, and you other people like a verb. You know, you exclude them after you've done a bit of, you know, branding and remarketing and stuff of them as you know, you can dehumanise them a bit or demonise them or whatever, and that's what Hitler did, you know. Because first you've got to get people on side. I'm not excusing the populace, but the populace is not necessarily actively malevolent, but can be brought to be malevolent if they're persuaded that a particular group or a particular individual is less than human or is in another way deserving of evil treatment. Once you get it in their mind that the person is a target, you motivate them first, and then they can pretty much tick along targeting that person themselves. That's how mob bullying works, and that's what's happened to me. And mobbing is almost, it's like herpes. I mean, basically, once the mob bullying starts, it's unlikely to end, especially when it's not like a workplace or something that you can just leave. It's really ingrained in my community and in the social services and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm sort of blacklisted everywhere, and that totally happens to people. I mean, I've seen some hideous documentaries. One, I can't remember what it was, but it was when I was on respite, and one of the people there said, "You've got to watch this movie." And it was about a girl. Oh, I'll get into that later, but yeah, no, it's real. It's a real fucking thing. It's just hopeless. It's hopeless. So I've got no caller ID ringing me, but I'm not going to pick up anyway. But yeah, I don't believe in like people going, oh, you know, the non-disabled or the non-trans. It's like, sorry, communication doesn't work when you use it to pretend things. It doesn't work as a communication tool. Can we not pretend that non-trans people are it's not non-trans people, it's people, and then some people are trans. However you define trans, and to me, I define it as gender dysphoria. In most cases, gender dysphoric, which is let's not go down that road. But you know, you don't define things in the negative because it doesn't say anything, and that's something that Hannah Gadsby, all the righties, I argue with my side as much as I argue with the left. People on the right, you know, absolutely fucking viciously deride Hannah Gadsby. She's fucking funny and she's fucking clever, and she said she's okay with he, him, they, them, whatever, she, her. She says she doesn't really care, but she doesn't get, like, she never self-identifies as non-binary, because she says, why would you define yourself by something that you're not rather than something that you are? And so, although that's clever and a lot of clever things make us laugh, a lot of humour is not funny as such, it's just that kind of recognition of a truth. But she's spot on. Like, why would you define yourself by something that you're not? Because it doesn't say anything about who you are. And that's why, you know, veganism in the sense of being a diet is just as stupid to think, because it's not defined by what you eat, it's defined by what you don't eat. And some people go, well, you're just eating rabbit food. It's like, you don't know what the fuck I eat. I hardly ever meet any other fucking vegans. And one of the vegans that I worked with a vegan, and we literally had nothing in common in our diet. She had never eaten tofu. It was really weird. She ate a lot of Mexican stuff. She was Maori, and I guess never had that. Yeah, I don't know. We would have just, she ate, you know, she would have a lot of like hangi type food. You know, she came from, I think, a small coastal community or something, and I think they had, you know, very traditional food. And she said that everyone in her family was overweight and, you know, heart disease and stuff, and she was skinny as a freaking rake, and she lost 10 kilos giving up, you know, becoming vegan, whereas I gained 10 kilos. Shit. Really out of breath just talking. It's like if I had chest pains, I'd think I was having a heart attack. Yeah, so it's like there's no way you could define us. You know, veganism is a diet, which is a misnomer anyway, but a plant diet, all that says is that you don't eat any animals or anything that comes from animals. It doesn't say anything about who you are, and who she was a lot to do with her cultural upbringing, and who I am is a lot to do with mine. And then food is a big part of culture. And you know, my mum always made pea and ham soup from her, you know, our family, which was I think a sort of a Scottish or English sort of thing, but she'd make it without the ham once, you know, Neil and I became vegetarian. And, you know, there'd be lots of split peas and other pulses and stuff, and so it had nothing to do with, like, veganism. It was just sort of like people didn't really afford meat, and so the ham that would be in the pea and ham soup, well, there wouldn't be very much of it. So Irish were eating potatoes and stuff, and then when they had to eat just rabbits, they were, yeah, they had, what, carbohydrate starvation or something. But yeah, like, you know, in our genetics, so epigenetics and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so using a lot of SBs, and I mean Allistic, ALLISTIC, is a term to describe people who are neurotypical, who are not autistic or SB or ADHD. And I thought, that's fucking rude of us to label the majority as something unusual. But actually, it looks like we're not in the minority. It looks like we're probably a good half. I would say we're going to come out of the wash is probably a big, no, maybe not half, but maybe 40% of the population somehow. And no, not everyone is on the spectrum, because the spectrum doesn't start at non-autistic and end at freaking autistic. It starts at a diagnostically significant level, and that's at the point where it starts to interfere with your life. And there are loads and loads and loads of very lonely people who have no friends. It's amazing how many people are who have no friends. And I would say that those are probably all neurodivergent. There are so many. Loneliness is an epidemic, and loneliness is largely invisible. You don't think of people as having no friends. You're like, oh, surely, like, I had a psychiatrist say to me, you know, like someone you can go to coffee with, and it's like, I didn't say I know what a friend was. I said I don't have any friends. fuck, man, I think I can, like, oh, right, someone to have a pillow fight with, you know, oh, right. I really, after I had, someone's calling me on a cell phone now. I wonder if it's medical centre. No, you can text me or email me. I've got a voice message that says that now. So then now I do understand, and it's like, you know, there's this meme that goes, not a meme, but, you know, everything that people don't know. People, God, I do deride people a lot, don't I? But this is the thing. This is what it's like being autistic, and this is the pointed fact. Like, this is what I'm saying, is that, you know, I say people, like, non-autistic people just speak in riddles. You know, like, we're not the ones with the communication problems. We communicate clearly, and they speak in riddles, you know. And I guess a lot of it's colloquialisms, and then sometimes it's just like, you're literally negating yourself. Like, I had someone tell me, and he was a very abusive person, and I think he was just trying to hit all of the targets at the same time, even though the targets were working against each other. It's like, I had a friend who was very sick, and he had a cough, and he sent me to the pharmacy with a list, and I handed the list to the pharmacist, and she said, on this list is a cough suppressant and a cough, like an expectorant, and she says one of them is to stop the cough, the other one is to make, you know, get a productive cough to produce more. She's like, which one does he want? Is it a dry cough or a wet cough? And it's like, it's a wet cough. She says, well, you don't want to suppress that. And if you do suppress that, why would you have a suppressant and an expectorant? Like, they're just opposing forces, right? So I find that I'm okay with using the term Allistic because I think it defines something in particular, even if it's a majority. And I don't think it's that much of a majority, but it's like, yeah, there was a meme that I saw yesterday, and it said exactly what I meant. It was like an instruction manual and a piece, and it says, tighten the screws, but do not tighten them. It literally said that. It was like a photograph from an instruction manual to put something together. And someone had captioned it, how Allistic people speak. And it's like, thank you, because they say, and they cannot see the contradiction of what they're saying. They're like, you know, it's like it's in an Idiocracy with the doctor, you know, Justin Long. He's like, well, what I do is, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what Allistic people think. Like, well, the bullshit that I don't understand that I'm doing, I'm going to outsource the understanding to you to interpret it and let me off the hook. So I had this abusive guy go, even though he was doing it on purpose, to harm me. I don't think he knew how fucking stupid he sounded. Firstly, this is the same abuse. This is the same night of sustained abuse that ended up in him assaulting me, calling the police, and the police assaulting me and arresting me. That was my first arrest in July last year. Saying that I was trespassing, even though he had invited me to stay, and I had the agreement on record, and the police wouldn't listen to me. So I wasn't trespassing. I had my fucking bedroom in there. But he said, firstly, that I fill my head with other people's nonsense, and I have no original thoughts of my own. And then he said, I refuse to take advice, and that's my problem. I won't ever listen to anybody else. And I said, right, so I have no thoughts of my own that would belong to everybody else, but I don't listen to anybody else, only myself. And he's like, that's right. And I said, so a total contradiction is correct. And he stopped and he said, yes. So this is the problem, right? We don't have the communication problems. the world is a fucking mess. I don't think Allistics are doing a good job running it. And there's another person who said, you know, how you know, that common thing people go, well, everyone's on the spectrum, you know, I was mentioning it before. It's like, no, the spectrum doesn't start at not an autistic. The spectrum starts at a diagnostic significant. You know, that's the point that it's chosen. It's not, it's chosen for its diagnostic usefulness, that point that autism starts. It's like you could say, well, if you could say we're all on the spectrum, it's like, well, we're all dying, which is technically true because we're not reversing the march toward death. A 20-year-old who dies at 94 is dying, but not in any relevant sense, not in any applicable sense. To say we're all on the spectrum is completely vacuous. And he said, and the guy said, you know, he was thinking about all the, you know, that, you know, boats getting stuck in canals and planes falling out of the sky and everything running late and huge like buck-ups, and then he came to the conclusion, no, they're not. Basically, because SVs don't let that fucking shit happen. We pay attention to all the details that everyone else goes, oh my God, you're so pedantic. You're overthinking everything. It's like, well, we're overthinking things so bridges don't fall down. You think the right amount, and that's why they're falling down. Sure, okay, buddy, go get him, tiger. Wow, I'm really puffed from talking. I might just upload this. I don't even know. But yeah, I just like fucking SBs just speak in riddles, and it just takes us a while. Like we're not innocent, we're not naive, we're not gullible. Gullibility is something different. It's just that it takes us a while to fucking like calculate what are you, and put it all together afterwards and go, oh. And so what I was going to say with my doctor was that it took me a while yesterday before I decided to not go. Well, I realised there's no way, because the appointment was in the afternoon and I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I've already lost a whole day's sleep that you need to make up, especially when you've got every other fatigue disorder under the sun. And it's like, I'm not even going to be standing. Like sometimes my legs are trembling so much. And it just feels like gravity is just so strong. It feels like so strong. And I just realised there's no way I could even, I couldn't probably, I've been in situations where I've had to get into an Uber to get to a medical centre, and then I'm like, I don't even know if I can actually get into an Uber, like that kind of thing. Like that's when you kind of feel like you need a stretcher. And I just thought, fuck man, like I'm not putting myself through that and I'm not going. And then I thought, I'll let them know. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to let them know, because coming full circle, if I let them know, I'm giving them respect that I'm sending them a message that how they're treating me is totally normal and I accept it. Now, not turning up sends a kind of a message. And it's very rare that silence is an acceptable or appropriate form of message. But on those rare occasions, it's the only way to do it. Now, a lot of people who are responsible, and personality disorders are disorders of responsibility, the cluster Bs, and we've got a lot of people on cluster B spectrum, way more than are clinically significant, but they're socially significant. They're ruining society. They are the fall of the West. And to be honest, non-Western conservative cultures, some of them are horrifically brutal, or some of their practices. like I always think, throwing gays from roofs, you know, before I get to approving of some cultures and religions or sects or, you know, denominations. You need conservatism or things are going to go fucking crazy. We've got rid of conservatism again and things are going crazy because all the fucking nut bars out there are just letting their nut barness and their personality disorders run amok, and they're just destroying society that way. And society's gone, like it's over. It's over. New Zealand is over. It's gone. And the medical system is a predator. It's a giant predator. It's not a respectable profession anymore. Well, people may respect it, but it's not respectable. There are a lot of crooks, absolute criminals, and I'm sick of it. So I'll get into what actually happened in a bit. But I'm really out of breath. Yeah, you can see why, like, I'm just sitting in bed talking. You can see why I don't want to get myself up and go to a medical centre where I'm not even wanted. And I'll tell you about that. I don't have any proof. I usually try to record sessions, new sessions, but I keep forgetting. And it's like, God, because I don't bring a support person because I've got nobody. That's what a support person's there for, honestly, is to be a witness or to curb bad behaviour. And it's good manners to tell someone you're recording them, but it's not illegal not to. It's absolutely not. I understand the Privacy Act, whether or not it's correct or not. The law, whether or not the law is morally correct, the law is very clear that recording a conversation that you're part of is not a problem in itself, let alone an offence. There are no offences under the Privacy Act, except for the section where it's about lying to officials and that kind of thing. Anyway, I'll be back after I've plugged myself into my fucking at-home... I feel like I need to drag an oxygen tank around with me. No, I'm not hypoxic, I'm just anemic. See you soon.